So you bought a kayak and you're ready for some fun adventuring with your dog. But if you don't start with a little bit of crucial kayak training, a fun day can turn into a miserable experience pretty quickly. I've seen dogs jump off the kayak to chase an animal, fail to maintain a stay during a crucial moment and then capsize the boat, or even dogs that are just plain scared of the new piece of equipment or the instability of the kayak. So in this video, I'm going to show you the simple training steps that you can take to prepare your dog for a fun adventure day on the water. Investing just a few minutes of training can make a huge difference in the amount of fun you and your dog have together. So let's get started.
If your dog isn't already familiar with unstable surfaces, consider practicing your obedience on canine fitness equipment like peanuts or FitBones or couch cushions to get your dog used to that unstable footing while practicing their obedience. Next, grab your treat pouch and fill it with tasty goodies. If you need ideas for small, easily consumable treats for your pup, check out this video up here and I'll link my favorite treats down in the description below. We want to introduce the dog to the kayak in your house, garage, or yard. Be sure to stabilize the kayak so that it won't tip if they try to interact with it. To introduce a dog to a new item like this, I like to play the touch the boat game, which is essentially a shaping exercise where your dog learns to touch a potentially intimidating object. Playing this game with new items frequently will actually train your dog that items they may find scary are actually opportunities to play the touch the boat game with you and get reinforcement. This is a great confidence building activity. To play this game, you're going to mark with a yes or a click and reward for your dog looking at the kayak, walking towards the kayak, touching the kayak, etc. until your dog is happily running up to the kayak. I like to toss the cookie away from the boat so that they have a chance to reapproach the boat at their own pace. You'll also want to practice dragging the kayak around and getting your dog used to the noise of the paddles hitting the side of the kayak or of it plopping down on the ground. Carrying the kayak to water is another part of the kayaking picture, so we want to get our dogs used to it. And if you found this video to be helpful so far, be sure to head down to the bottom of this video and boop that like button. Jake, Cool Whip, and I would be so grateful. If your dog still seems nervous of this bigger boat, you can also start by just letting it hang out in your living room for a week or so they can investigate it at their own pace. Make sure it's stabilized and won't tip if they decide to try to get on to investigate. You can even tip it on its side and periodically drop treats in the hole for your dog to find. Once your dog is comfortable with the presence of the boat, it's time for some kayak obedience. When starting training on the kayak, first stabilize the kayak so it won't tip when practicing your skills. Practice all of your obedience cues on the kayak first with you in the standing position. Make sure you also practice while your dog is wearing their life vest. You can ask the dog to jump onto the kayak while you hold onto the handle, in case you need to help them get back into the boat if they jump off or fall out. Practice using your hand touch to move the dog into different areas of the boat if there's more than one place for them to sit. Now you're going to hop into the boat and practice sitting on the boat with your dog outside of the boat, and you're going to pretend to paddle. Paddling is part of the kayak experience, so your dog needs to get used to that too. Once your dog is comfortable watching you paddle, have them get into the boat with you and practice paddling. Paddling so close to your dog is something they really need to get used to.
Yes, good job.
Intermittently reinforce for staying in place. Be sure to practice with your dog between your legs, both facing you and facing away from you if that's part of how your dog will ride in the kayak. Practice making the noise of the paddles hitting the sides of the kayak, as this will definitely happen when you're out on the water and could be concerning to your dog at first. Make the paddle noise, mark, and feed. We're trying to create a lot of value for your dog for remaining calm in the kayak, no matter what happens. And we do this by associating the kayak with a primary reinforcer, aka a tasty treat. Next, create instability in the kayak on dry land and practice there. Gently rock the boat back and forth to get your dog used to the feeling of staying on board while the kayak moves.
Yes.
Practice giving your obedience cues from the seated position in the kayak off of the water. If you have room for the kayak in your house, it's a good idea to train for just a few minutes a day for a couple of weeks. You can also use the kayak as their bed or place while you're practicing your downstays while you watch TV. Heck, spend some time watching Netflix together in your kayak. Once they're comfortable with these exercises on dry land, it's finally time to take it to the water. Before you go on your first adventure, I recommend that you exercise your dog first. Your first trip should be short, with the goal of getting your pup out there for just 5 to 20 minutes or so. So a slightly tired dog will make that first trip a bit easier. You want the dog to be comfortable and having fun, but also able to settle. If it's warm, consider letting your dog swim first and take breaks to cool off in the water. If you have a pool, that's the safest place to start. If not, go to a lake or pond or anything flat water first with a shallow place to get in. we don't want to start on moving water. I can't emphasize enough that your first trip should really be a training trip, and not, for instance, an entire day paddling with friends. You want to be able to bail if things aren't going as planned. Make sure you grab your treats too for reinforcement. Because you've done a ton of prep work, your dog should be able to easily hop on and off the boat on cue. Start them in shallow water where they can easily hop on and off on cue, and treat the heck out of them for practicing these cues in a new and distracting environment. Stay outside the boat at first and simply practice hopping on, getting into position, and staying, and then hopping off. Once they're comfortable with this, get in yourself and then invite them to come in with you, and practice paddling just a bit. It can be helpful on your first trip to have a friend or helpful available to push you off and to stabilize the boat as your dog gets in so they don't get startled. Reinforce your dog generously for staying in place on the boat. Paddle around a bit and allow your dog to get comfortable. Once they seem relaxed, head back to shore. Remind your dog to stay and reward heavily. Many dogs will want to jump off once they get close to shore. We don't want them self-releasing, as it could be dangerous for them to do so if there's cars or other people or dogs on the shore. We want them to get in the habit of staying put until you give the cue. If you need to, clip the leash on as you head towards shore so they don't decide to bail. Once you get close to shore, reward again for maintaining a stay and then give the release cue. So that's it, your first successful kayak trip. You've officially got yourself an adventure dog. And if you want to have a better behaved adventure dog by your side, definitely check out this video here and be sure to click on it. You all have an awesome day and happy training.